Welcome all viewers. We are four doctoral students from the University of Louisiana Monroe, and today we are proud to present this presentation on using data to assess school culture. In this presentation, we'll cover key concepts, principles and trends, research analysis and findings, best practices in assessing culture, and some final thoughts for you, our viewers. Part 1. Key concepts, principles, and trends. To begin, let's talk about what school culture actually is. School culture can be defined as deep patterns of values, beliefs, and traditions that have formed over the course of a school's history. It encompasses the tone, relationships, and morale of the organization. Schools are social inventions, with staff working both independently and in groups to achieve specific goals. A school's culture is the underlying personality and belief system combined into an invisible framework of norms. It includes faculty, students, administrators, and even parents. School culture is distinct from school climate in that climate is more aptly described as a school's attitude. Visitors to a school, such as substitute teachers, are often able to sense the culture of the school easily. This is also true for new hires, as they will notice the differences from their old places of employment. However, over time, they will adjust to the new culture, and that culture will eventually be the new normal. Culture quality is the extent to which dominant values and beliefs are supported by espoused and action theories. In a positive school culture, underlying assumptions guiding important pedagogical decisions are consistent with the established professional knowledge base. You might be asking yourself, why do I need to worry about my school's culture? Across virtually all states, policymakers have shifted from centralized change strategies to tactics intended to produce improvements at the individual school level. This has been prompted by the realization that needs and resources among schools, even within most districts, are dissimilar. In order to truly change a school's culture as a continuous improvement strategy, teachers and administrators must understand the culture of their school. This means examining subconscious and counterproductive assumptions in order to create a new vision. This is difficult work when such assumptions can be seen as politically unacceptable, professionally irresponsible, or a cause of conflict within the organization. When looking at school improvement, one of the ways that any such effort can be made impossible is by ignoring the notion of changing a school's culture. A negative school culture will reinforce the idea that the dysfunction the school faces is normal, and the suggestion of changing is an attack on the school's value system. All these data are integral to continuous school improvement, as it gives educational leaders not just a snapshot of where the organization is currently, but if the organization is truly headed towards the vision created in the calibration phase of continuous school improvement. In order to meet the demands levied upon them by states and districts, there are a myriad of ways that schools currently assess their culture, to include a variety of teacher inventories used to report one's behaviors and opinions. State accountability programs can also help create collaborative and positive school cultures, driving teachers and administrators together to identify specific goals and develop the necessary trust to achieve them. Accountability measures include a learning environment category based on school culture as the most critical influence of overall school performance and student achievement. Finally, perception data is data derived from how teachers, parents, and students are thinking about the organization. Perception data can give us information such as the culture and value system of staff, how students like to learn, what faculty professional development needs to take place, and what parents need to know or do to become more involved in their child's education. Part 2. Research analysis and findings. Schools throughout the country are being challenged to document that students are safe, are learning the social skills that will make them contributing members of our culture, and are in environments with sufficient social order to allow and encourage academic achievement. The actions taken by schools to attain this are called positive behavior support procedures. Schools are reporting up to 60% reductions in office discipline referrals, improved social climate, and improved academic performance when they engage in school-wide PBS practices. These practices include defining positive behavioral expectations, teaching these expectations to all students, rewarding appropriate behavior, consistent consequences for inappropriate behavior, and gathering and using behavioral data for active decision-making. Horner et al. Conducted research on the validity of the school-wide evaluation toolset, a research instrument for measuring implementation of PBS procedures. The set consists of 28 items organized into 7 subscales that represent key features of school-wide PBS. Trained data collectors gathered set data from 45 schools, interviewing administrators, teachers, staff members, and students, reviewing permanent products such as school policies, curricula, and meeting minutes, and examining data systems currently in use. To determine how well behavioral expectations had been taught, the observers asked at least 15 students and 10 staff members to state the behavioral expectations in their school. Researchers found the set exceeds basic psychometric criteria for measurement tools used in research. It can be administered with high inter-observer agreement, demonstrates excellent test-retest reliability, and is sensitive enough to be useful in documenting change levels of implementation of school-wide PBS programs. Researchers concluded that the data offered by the set offers promise for both districts and local schools to use when analyzing school culture. In another study, Kowalski and Herman studied school culture within a state accountability program, the School Culture Quality Survey, in all 9 public schools located in one county in the state of Ohio. They found there was a small negative association between the percentage of disadvantaged students and the school culture, while there existed a moderate positive relationship between high median family income and school culture. Aside from demographics, performance variables such as graduation rates and standardized test scores both had positive associations with school culture, which supports the assertion that school culture is related to academic effectiveness. As such performance indicators are the intense focus of policymakers and the public, researchers determined school culture must play a more prominent role in continuous school improvement plans, yet they also felt more empirical evidence was needed. Additional research needed in terms of using data to assess school culture include associations between culture profiles, the feasibility of interfacing culture profiles with student performance data, identifying elements of state accountability programs that potentially contribute to diagnosing school culture, and possible associations between culture profiles and data used to make summative school assessments. Part 3. Best practices. One way to collect data on school culture is by allowing students to work in groups to create advertisements for their school. As the advertisements are presented, ask students to identify themes and values that are highlighted in the different advertisements. This allows school leaders to develop an understanding of the students' perception of the school's culture. Another best practice is to distribute sticky notes to each school leadership team member and ask them to write one adjective on each note that describes the school's culture. Post and organize the sticky notes into themes and then, within theme groups, divide them into positive and negative adjectives. Next, ask the following questions. What is the meaning of each group of adjectives? On which groups should we focus our attention? And which groups should be modified to reflect the values of the school? Personalization of the learning environment can be achieved through smaller class sizes and overall school sizes where students can form caring relationships with adults. Personalization of the learning environment is important to engage students emotionally, cognitively, and behaviorally, thus creating strong connections between students and teachers. Teachers can leverage the data they glean from such connections, such as students' personalities, academic strengths and weaknesses, and learning styles, to influence the culture within the schoolhouse to best meet the needs of individuals. Such connections show improved motivation, engagement, and attendance, all of which are linked to higher academic achievement. A final best practice is to involve parents and students in the process of assessing the school's culture. Ask them to tell you stories of a time when they experienced success, excitement, or connection with the school. And ask yourself, are the experiences they described in line with the mission and purpose of the school? You can use this data to further refine the culture of your schoolhouse. Here are some final thoughts we'd like you to consider as we conclude this presentation. When considering how to use data to assess school culture, consider, what's the culture of your educational organization? How do you know? And how can you further assess your organization's culture from a data-driven perspective? In today's presentation, we covered key concepts, principles and trends, research analysis and findings, best practices in assessing culture, and some final thoughts. Thank you for watching this quick presentation on using data to assess school culture. All references are on the following slides.